AJ for the Redneck Garage. Well, if you've been following my channel, you know that I was going to put leather seat covers on my new Maverick that I purchased, and mission accomplished. Now, if you're watching this video to see how I like them or a review on leatherseats.com, the product itself, this probably isn't the video for you, because this video is almost an hour long and it is everything I had to go through to install the leather seats. If you look at the card up above, or go down in the description, there's a link to the much shorter video as far as like the review of the leather seats. And if you do decide to go ahead and install them yourself, the DIY project that I did, this video would help you out. And I've got chapters underneath so you can kind of skip to what you want to see too. But I really do appreciate you watching. Check out the other video if you're just wanting to see just a regular review of the leatherseats.com and how they turned out, which was absolutely amazing. So thanks for watching. I'm out in the garage with my Mavy 22 Ford Maverick. I told you before that I was going to put some new seat covers on it made from leather rather than the pleather that comes with it from the factory on the Lariat edition. Now, if you've got the XL or the XLT, you've got cloth seats, and this would be the same video for you, except you would be replacing it with leather and getting rid of the cloth, which is even better upgrade. Now, the pleather on the factory ones is okay, I would say, but one thing I did notice is after driving it 3,000 to 4,000 miles is that the pleather really shows no wear whatsoever. You can sit on it, jump on it, get a fat person on it, and it's going to be the same smooth finish, no wrinkles whatsoever, so it looks kind of fakey. The colors, I liked the blue and the brown, but the brown was a little bit off. Other than that, it was okay. I did get a stitch or two broken in the seat cover, and it was at the dealership. They looked at it and they've ordered a new one, so I'm going to see if they'll just give me that so I can hold on to it. But they actually said they would replace it at no charge, no problem, no questions, so that was good. The warranty actually held up on the seats for a 3,000 mile truck, right? I got my seat covers in from leatherseats.com, and I can say that I am super impressed with these. I went for the deluxe leather, which is leather all the way up to the edges, and then there's some vinyl around the bottom part. You can get a little bit more vinyl, it's a little bit cheaper, but I paid right around, I think, $1,200 for everything with an installation kit and all with the deluxe leather. And I'll go through how you can tell whether it's leather or vinyl in just a minute here, but let's take a look at how the seat covers came out and how they compare to the factory Lariat edition seat covers. These things look really, really nice. I got perforated right here in the base model, hopefully to get a little bit more airflow, whatever. I thought it looked cool. And this is all leather. This is leather on the sides. This middle section's leather. I want to say this should be leather, is it? This connecting piece here is vinyl in the back, and on the very edges is vinyl, but you can't really tell a lot of difference. Now, you see the difference between real leather and vinyl. The real leather has what's called grain or wrinkling. You know, it just looks like a real material, where the vinyl is just smooth, there's no wrinkles, and it's just going to stay that way no matter what. On the deluxe seats, the center portion all the way over is leather, so those look really great. Let's compare it to the factory colors on the Maverick. Now, I know that on a camera it can be a little bit deceiving, but when I look at the colors, the brown is a little more brown and a little less, I don't know, reddish brown, I guess what you would call the factory one. And you can see that there's a lot more grain to the real leather and even the vinyl from the replacement seats than the factory one. The factory one's just completely smooth. It just looks more natural compared to the factory one, which has no definition to it whatsoever. It's just super smooth. Right here you can see that's where I lost a couple stitches, and they're going to get me a replacement bottom bolster. So we'll see how that goes as far as them giving it to me, or they're just going to deny it. But you can see the factory one has blue stitching on the brown and beige stitching on the blue, and the replacement one is just going to be beige. You can see that it's beige all the way across, which I'm fine with that. The insert's a little bit different on the replacement ones. This part is blue. On the replacement one, you can kind of see here, but as far as that goes, they actually match fairly well, and I think the coloring is much better. It's very much classy. It's very classy looking for sure. I did do one of the rear headrests just to play around with it, and this is leather in the middle versus the vinyl. And you can see that it's got a lot more grain to it versus the super smooth pleather. But other than that, the colors are very similar. Even the vinyl on the leatherseats.com has a lot more grain to it than the Ford factory, which has no grain hardly at all. It's just kind of funny. If you want to know how to tell the difference between leather and pleather from the back side, let's say you're taking it off and you're like, is that really leather? You can see on leather, when you pull back the edge, there's foam and then leather, and it's not glued together, it's just stitched. And then when you look at the pleather or the vinyl, it's really one piece. It's glued together, the foam on it is all together. So you can tell that the middle of these is actually real leather with vinyl blue. And the same on the sides, it's vinyl. So basically on these, the middle portion is leather and everything else is vinyl. And you can feel a difference, right? It's supple. The leather is real supple feeling versus the vinyl, which is like kind of stiff and different. So that's interesting. This is the rear seat cover, and it's got the same brown, ooh, that feels good, perforations, leather here. This is all leather in the middle, and the very edges are vinyl. Now I was wondering about the quality of the stitching and how these were made from leather seats, and you can see that on this one it's got a pocket, so even the pocket is the same. Folks from leatherseats.com have been super great and helpful. They answered all my questions. They sent me the samples. I picked out the colors, and it's been like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at the most, and I received this stinking seat covers. That's absolutely great customer service. And the other thing I would say, okay, is Katzskin is the other major manufacturer, but you have to find an installer. They quote you a price already installed, and this is a great DIY project for you, and we're going to go through every step of the way how to put these stinking things on if you do decide to go with leatherseats.com, because you can save a ton of money. For $1,200 you get a full leather front and back with all the whistles and bells on it. I think that's a heck of a deal. So let's get started. Besides this, I've already done that. I'm sorry. We'll start looking at, I'm going to do the rear seat first, because if you're going to do something you've never done before, don't pick the front driver's seat where it's the most noticeable and the most used every day. Pick the one that never gets used, that doesn't matter as much. I'll get going on the rear seat, taking it out, and then we'll start looking at how to put on this super cool leather. I got the back seat out, and it was not really that difficult. You got two Torx bolts that go from the inside, so when you tilt the seat down, just take out those two and these two over here in the back. Now, because the Lariat has that stupid subwoofer thing, I had to take it out to get to these two bolts. But once I got that out, it's very easy to take out. Then you got clips here that just come apart, and then basically it's there. Now, I got to take out these two rubber bumpers. Once I get those off, then basically we can take the skin off of it and take off these 4 bolts, and that'll release the armrest out of the holder here. You can kind of see the 2 clips. The armrest, basically, once you get the bolts out, the armrest unclips from this. Then we're just left with the seat cover. On your headrest, there's a little tab right here. So if you press in on that and then tap on the end of it, it'll just pop right out of the hole. And you've got 6 going across. So I've got all 6 of the headrest mounts out, and you can see that's the retaining clip right there. So if you push that in and tap on it, come right out. This side is going to be the outside of all the headrests. Okay, I got about half of it off, and you can see these pieces of this strip of plastic with the holes in it. That's where the hog rings were, and you can actually see they have indentations where the hog rings went. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. 1, 2, 3 there, 1 there, there. So you can actually see everywhere the hog rings were. Just make a note of it as you're taking it apart, and you can see that metal piece down in there. That's where they go around and clip in right at these sections here. Now, if you get a place like this, you can take a steam. You can take your steamer and heat that up if it's bad enough. None of this looks bad enough. It's going to be compressed pretty well. So this, I just use a pair of diagonals to cut the hog rings. These marks actually make it pretty easy, but you can see right there, there's all the hog rings going across at each mark. So not that difficult once the clips are taken off to cut the hog rings in half. Make sure that you get them all out. There's one right there I just missed. You can see it. So double check very carefully that you don't leave any in there after you cut them. I got a pair of needle nose and pull it out, and there's one right there I can see. So once you cut them, make sure you get them all out. There's one there. And then you'll be ready to start reassembly. Here it is. I got the factory one off. I may have to go through and figure out where the holes are for these, for the hog rings. I don't know. I've got to look at the new one. There's a little hoggy ring. Interesting, there's the tag on the factory one, and it's made in Mexico, believe it or not. So this one does have the felt that the hog rings go through, but it has no holes anywhere around, so I'm going to have to navigate that. But it looks pretty, that's for sure. Well, that looks really good. I've got to get the hog rings ready, and that'll be the next step that we've got to do. You can see that the hog rings go right in this area here, and it pulls that cover into where that section is on both of them. But it looks really, really good. This is the hog ring pliers that I bought from leatherseats.com, and you can see that it's spring loaded, which is super helpful because you can put your ring in there. This will go through your strip, and then this goes underneath the bar, and then you're going to clamp it. And I'll show you that in a minute, but having it spring loaded is very helpful so you don't keep dropping the dang hog ring clips. Now let's turn it around and I'll show you where the hog ring clips go and why it looks like this. One of the nice things about the Maverick, as far as like the back seat anyway, you can see these marks of where the hog rings went originally. And you can see them here, 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 all the way across here. So it kind of tells me where I need to put them. Now, you can see the groove, right, where the upholstery actually is going to lay down in that groove as you put the hog rings in all the way across, right? So that's where we're going to be working. And you're going to work the furthest here, and then work across, and then do this one. Now, this upholstery will lay down in this gap all the way across here and here as you're putting the hog rings in. And this is the strip that the hog rings go in. You see that black strip right there, and it goes across here, and there's another one right here, and that's where the hog rings are going to hold that into this gap here. So you're going to load up your hog ring pliers right here. All right, and we'll get this ready. You're going to work going in towards out. You're going to work in towards out, and you're going to clip that through the top of it, and then it's going to go underneath the bar and crimp it. You can see that the hog ring is indeed right there where it's supposed to be, underneath the metal and around that strip. And so then you got to do this one, and that one. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, you can see that that's laid in there with the hog ring clips. Now I've got to work across here and start going across that way. All right, that looks really pretty. Got all the hog rings installed in the grooves. Looks good. Got a little bit more massaging to do as far as like the top and the bottom, but it's looking really nice on there. The back side looks good. I've got to get the armrest ready to go, and then we'll be able to put that in, put the bolts back in it, zip up the back. This baby will be ready to put back in. It's looking really nice. Here's the rear armrest cover. I took off the two plastic covers on it. Take that screw out on the other side, and this bracket should come off. Alright, you can kind of see how the orientation is. You were going to pull out the end of this, and there's your zipper right there to be able to unzip everything off of the cover. Alright, this was a alright, the rear cup holder was a pain in the butt to figure out. Basically, you're going to pull the vinyl back out from underneath it. It's basically tucked in underneath here. So this cup holder does not come out. The vinyl just kind of gets pushed in underneath it, so that's great. So there's the armrest with the cover off of it. Awesome. Now with the back on and it partially zipped up, I went ahead and took my straight awl and I went up through the holes where the seat, where the headrest goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that tells me where I can cut my hole to put the seat rests in. Alright, tell me that doesn't look nice. I need to still take the steamer and go in these little spots right in here, take out a couple of the little wrinkles, but for the most part that went on really well. There was times that I cussed a little bit, but I am super happy with the back right here. It looks great. And the back side of it looks pretty much like the factory one. There's no padding right here like the factory one. I don't know if you really need that or not. If so, I can glue it on there, but looks really nice. Now we got to take the bottom of the seat off. The easiest way to get it off, there's a cover that covers up both of the edges. So you got to take that plug out. There's a Torx bit there, and there's a Torx bit right here on the very bottom. And once you take that off, this is what it looks like. So there we go, it's off, and you're going to take off this bolt and that will release this whole bottom assembly. So let me get that other side done and we'll take it off. I found it easier to get on this back bolt by taking off the side cover here. Basically you just reach down and pull up and it just comes out of those two slots there. And it comes out of those two slots there, so that makes it a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and take all the bolts out, and then the bottom section should just come on out. Alright, here's the bottom of the seat, back side. I don't know what that is. Man, it's a weird tag. At this point, it would be a good idea for you to take a couple pictures just so you know the orientation of all the bumper stops for the bottom piece here. And then I'll take those off. It's got Torx screws on it. And then we'll be ready to start taking off the cover itself. At this point, go ahead and take you a couple pictures of where the straps go from the factory one. You can see here, here, and here. That one goes across there. And that should be most of the attachment. And then you got two on the outer edges here and here. So I'll go ahead and unclip all that, and then we'll see if it's just going to come right on off. That'd be cool without having to mess with all your cabling. Okay, with all the straps undone, I should be able to probably flip this over and start working the factory cover off. And yes, indeed, there are. And let me show you. Let me get a better view of this and show you what we're looking at. As you work up, you can see that these are the strips that the hog rings go in. Here, here, and here. And still we've got the indentations of where they're at, and you basically want to go in and clip that hog ring without cutting anything else. There we go. So I'll work the rest of it off, and it should just fall off at that point. You can see this is kind of cool too. It's got a Velcro type seam from the factory that kind of goes in there, and I don't think the replacement one has that. But that's kind of trippy. I've never seen that. Alright, so the cover's off. Got all the clips. There was two spots on both sides, here and here, that didn't have a mark on the opposite side. You can see, had it there but not here. So I just marked it with a little bit of paint there so I remember that there's a hog ring here and here, because you're going to roll it back this way. I'm not sure which way I'm going to put on the cover, from the back to the front or the front to the back, but I just marked it there. Now you got to go in and get all these nasty little hog ring clips. Got to get those pulled out. You don't want to leave any of those. There we go. So go through real carefully and make sure you didn't leave any in there. With a pair of needle nose, and you should be in good shape. There's still one in there. I just got to grab it right there. Okay, so you want to try to get it test fit up there. Slide it on as close as you can. And that's without stretching or anything else. And then what we'll do, we'll start using the hog ring clips to go ahead and get these strips in the grooves there, and then we can start kind of yanking and pulling and stretching and everything else. Once we get the hog ring pliers set in, then we can go ahead and get the rest of it set on. I will say this, I was a little bit surprised that it actually does have that cloth that actually attaches to the factory. It's almost like a Velcro type thing here on the replacement one, so that's pretty cool. And I'm going to work backwards going towards the front, putting the hog rings on. Okay, so I've got the first row of the hog ring clips in, and these are kind of my guides here and here, and I'm going to try to roll it up, pushing that down into the gap, and then getting those lined up in all your spots. And that should, you can kind of see where that's going to go into into the gap. Looks good. Now I can go ahead and do this one. So I got all the hog rings installed, and for me that's the most tedious part, those stupid hog rings. So then you can start fitting the rest of the corner over the edges and stuff. Slowly working it over the edge. It's a beautiful thing. So give me a minute, I'm going to keep working all these edges in, around the edges, and then we can start working around the front. Alright, I fought and got the back of it on. These clips, rolling it over is a pain in the butt, but once you get it on, it stays good and tight. Awesome. I got to put my bumpers back on, and then on the front we're going to work on wrinkles. Overall, it looks really nice. Not many wrinkles in the brown. On the blue, there's some. Now, a lot of these, if you just leave it alone, they'll actually go out on their own, just because of normal stretching and moving. But we can take some steam and heat it up a little bit and massage it and see if we can get a little bit of those wrinkles out. Personally, I think it actually looks good enough just to stick in there, but I may work on a little bit right here on these edges as far as like a few wrinkles go, but it looks absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so I am pretty much done with this. It looks outstanding. I took my steamer, and I'll show you on the front seats, but I seamed this and got some of the wrinkles out. Most of these are going to eliminate themselves just from normal stretching and everything, but there was some wrinkles in all of this, so I took my steamer and steamed the crap out of it and then massaged it, and you can see the difference between this and this side here. You can see that there's more wrinkles, quite a bit more, along this piece and right in here. So to get some of those wrinkles out, the middle section didn't have hardly any wrinkles, so I didn't even mess with it. It looks really nice. I'm super happy with it. So this is ready to be reinstalled. I'll probably hit this with a little bit of steam, get some of those wrinkles to work themselves out before installation, and we'll put the front, and I will reinstall it. Looks great. Here we go. It took out some of the wrinkles. Now I'm not going to do anything more to it. I think that looks fine. I'm putting leather on so it looks like leather, not vinyl. So this little steamer did okay. I've got a bigger one coming. And now I'm going to treat it with some leather conditioner. And you need to use this periodically just to protect your leather. So just for comparison, this is the original factory, which I'll save or sell, I don't know, one or the other, who knows. But you can see the grain in it, that there is no wrinkling whatsoever. I mean, it's just vinyl, you know, nice pleather. And when you look at the replacement, the color's a little bit better, I think, but it's got that grain to it. It looks like leather. It's just a lot classier looking, and I am just thrilled with the way it came out. So I'm going to get these loaded up, take them back to the house where the Maverick is, and we'll install them back in, and we'll take a look what it looks like in the truck. Okay, so I got all the trim pieces back on, all the plastic on the sides, underneath, all that garbage, and the back seat looks amazing. I'll do some more videos in the sun of how it looks, but it turned out really, really nice. And it would really be hard to tell that this seat isn't factory. If you were to go with different colors, it would still look just as amazing. I think, especially if you had an XL or XLT. So at the base of the seat, you've got these little covers that cover the bolts, the front and the back. Two in the front, two in the back. And you can kind of see those holes there. And there's two 55mm Torx bolts that I'm going to loosen up to get this seat out of there. Once you get those 4 bolts out, you can lean the seat back. So right there is the plug. I'll unplug and then just take the whole seat out. Awesome. So I got the seat out. First thing to do is kind of figure out how to get all the trim pieces off here and on the other side. And once I do that, then I'll have a little bit clearer idea of how I want to attack this seat. But I can tell that this trim has to come off to be able to get the covers on. So that's the first thing that I'll do, is get all the trim off and then start ciphering on what to do. But passenger side seat first. Alright, so this handle has a clip on it, you can see right there. So once you move that clip out of the way, that back handle will come off. But this front one, I'm guessing, as far as I can tell, the bigger handle has these 2 Torx bits that holds it on. So I'm going to take those off, and I'm sure this will come off, but I'm not sure if this plastic piece would have come off without taking those bolts out. So anyway, that's where I'm attacking it now. Taking those 2 bolts out is the way to do it if you don't want to break anything. Now we're down to the seat assembly. Okay, once you get the straps off and everything, you can see that it's got one wire was going to the seat heater, and the other wire is the airbags in the side. So I've got to unhook the airbags, and then I should be able to go ahead and pull this back piece off. Very good. I got both sides off, and I don't know, this bracket will have to come off, but I think for the most part, that's about as much disassembly as I'm going to have to do for the base, and probably the top also. So that was a good little lick getting this apart. And you can see the clip here. So that'll be the next steps, is to go ahead and take off the covers on one or the other. I'll start with the back of the seat, and I would suggest that you take pictures as you take the stuff apart. You got 2 tabs here, just so you have a reference when you're putting it back together. There's 2 plastic tabs. You see there. Then you've got the plastic trim. The plastic strip here. Get that started. And get this apart. Next is unzip your zip pairs, and I've found that a hook tool works really well to grab right there in that edge of the zipper. Just be careful not to damage anything, but there you go. And it should start coming off here. See in the back there's a couple clips here and here. Just pop those off. Two more. Alright, so this clip goes up underneath this metal lip here. Then you got your other ones that go down the side. And you can see there's the airbag. And it's basically just a cutout in it. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and we'll get most of the, I think the cover will come off. Probably got some hog rings in it. We'll take a look. Same as the back one. If you push in the retainer from the inside, you can pull out the headrest brackets on the top of it there. On the top. If you look from the top coming down, that's the hog rings that you need to clip going across. So find all those and take your pair of diagonals and just clip your hog rings. Okay, so in your airbags, it looks like 10 millimeters. You're going to have two 10 millimeter bolts right here on the side to release the whole airbag assembly, and I'm going to assume I'm going to have to loosen that wire to let it go on through. However, the new seats have the bag that the airbag module goes into, and it's got the holes there for the bolts. So don't cut anything. Take those two bolts out and then slide your airbag module out. Rather than trying to fish this whole wire through the hole here, I just cut the airbag bag here and then it just slid out of the bag. I don't think this will even go all the way through that hole. I think it was just assembled after it went through the hole. So just go ahead and cut that bag, slide it out, and let it sit off to the side till you get the rest of the cover off. And there we go. We're down to the brass tacks. These have marks here, but because this is your, you can see this is the seat heater on the Lariat edition. You want to go through and make sure you get all those hog rings that you cut out. There might be a couple pieces down in there. Just look very carefully before you're ready to reinstall. And on the front seats, we're going to do something a little bit different than the back. I'm going to go ahead and steam all the foam, because what that will do is get rid of all these low spots in it and make sure that the foam is expanded out to its complete size. On an older vehicle, it even is more important because that foam is compressed. This shouldn't be too compressed, but you can see there is a little bit of compression. So we want to start out fresh. We're going to steam it, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. Minor quality control issue number one, they've got the holes for the bolts that come through where the they've got this whole sleeve sewn on backwards, which isn't a big deal, but I'm going to have to make holes in the new one for the bolts to come through here rather than the way they've got it. Should be like that, but not a big deal. So I'm working on these hog rings, and you kind of got to work one way towards the other. They're not fun, I can tell you that. And you're basically going to just stab it in the top in your strip. There it is. Stab it through, come underneath the bar, and then just crimp it. And you can see there's the hog ring there. And then I'll get the other one here. And once I get the hog rings done, then we can start putting the rest of the cover on. But yeah, they're my least favorite part, to tell you the truth, the hog rings are. Alright, I got all the hog rings on, And now I've got to try to fit it over the foam. That'll be fun. And get the airbag placed where it needs to be on the side. And then start stretching it back over. Should be fun. Alright, so I've got the airbag and everything on. Now we're going to start using some steam to get the wrinkles out and also make it a little bit more pliable to be able to pull the cover over it. Now, you may wonder why we use steam instead of like a heat gun. Well, heat gun can actually melt the vinyl, so you got to be really, really careful with that. But steam, if you go from the back side, it's a moist heat. It doesn't dry out the leather, and it also makes it very pliable. So if you can, the best thing to do is come in from the back side once your steamer's going and steam that back side real good and stretch it out, and then you can start from the front side massaging your cover, making sure that it's where it needs to be. Man, that looks nice. I'm really happy with it. I may hit this top section just a little bit with the steam, but for the most part, any kind of little wrinkling and stuff will work itself out just from natural stretching and heat cold of the leather itself. So this is really nice. I think it turned out beautiful. Now I got to do the base. The base is a little bit funky. Once you take the clips off the bottom of the metal, then the whole pad just comes off. So it's not really attached to the base, it's just sitting on there and the clips hold it down. So I've got that off, and I'll get the base out of the way, and then we'll work on putting the cover on the bottom. I'm pretty impressed with the quality of these skins. This is the old one and this is a new one. They did a really nice job with the patterns. They look very much like the originals. Maybe the clips are even a little bit bigger on the new ones versus the old. So I got everything off of this one, and on the bottom cushion it's probably got the most hog rings going across because I think that's where most of the weight goes. I'm going to steam this foam right here on the outer edges, and then I'm going to start putting on the bottom seat cover. See that line going away right there where it was compressed down? Even on brand new seats, the steam will bring it back up to where it originally was. So that's pretty slick. So I'll go ahead and finish steaming the whole thing, and that helps with the tightness of the new cover. Now I can start putting on the new cover and putting on all these stinking hog rings. Alright, there's one in. I'll continue on until I get them all. Ugh, gross. Okay, so I got all the hog ring pain in the butts in all the way up. So now I'm going to start steaming and stretching over the foam here. Ooh, that's warm. Alright, start putting the clips in. Use a little steam. Awesome. Alright, so then I'm going to steam the top part. Heat that baby up now. Oh yeah. Alright, now I'm going to massage it. That is one fine looking seat. Let me tell you, it really laid in there nice. Some of those wrinkles will actually smooth out, but I steamed them all, and that looks absolutely fabulous. I love it. This seat looks amazing. Now I'll put all the plastic pieces on and it'll be ready to go back in. Looks nice. Wow. Alright, so I've got some, these are headrest bags that I got from leatherseats.com. You can just say, hey, I need to buy some headrest bags, and you can use a shop vac. And I've got the shop vac over the post here. And I'm going to turn that on. Then you slip over your bag. Suck in this foam. Looks beautiful, ready to go on. I thought we'd take a look at the difference between the two. The one on the right, of course, is the leather one, and it looks gorgeous. Love that leather look. And then the one on the left is the factory pleather, and you can see that it's kind of a reddish brown, as opposed to that's called cocoa is the color of that. Now, if you were doing seats, you don't have to pick these two colors. You could pick all blue, blue with gray. You know, there's all kinds of there's all kinds of variations, but I wanted to kind of stay with the factory colors just because it matches all the accents, but I did want the leather. So I am just really happy so far with how this is coming out. I got one more seat to do, and then I'm going to send off the center console to leatherseats.com, and they're going to cover that for me because they don't have a pattern. Okay, I got the base done, and it's got an ample amount of leather dressing on it. Let that just soak in. I've wiped it down, but it looks absolutely awesome. I love it. Here's a little tip on the zippers. You can see I like this hook tool, and I put it in the eyelet. And what you want to do is roll this backwards so it doesn't get caught on it. And then just kind of work it in as you're going, and it goes really pretty easy. If you don't pull that, if you don't roll it over, then sometimes it can get caught in that fabric. There we go. Alright, I got both seats done. I'm going to take them home and install them in the truck. I won't say that it was super fun, but the outcome is amazing and beautiful. So let's get these in the truck and we'll take a look at them once they're installed back in Mavi. Finally, I'm done with the seats. I got them all installed back in. We're going to take a quick look, and then I'll give you my closing thoughts on the kit from leatherseats.com and the installation. Give me just a minute and we'll take a look. Man, the seats look absolutely amazing. Now, what I would say is these don't look as different as some would because of the color combination that I put on. The blue and the tan match the factory colors fairly well. This is a little bit more chocolate brown. The center console I'm sending off to leatherseats.com. They're going to cover that up and I think make a pattern for it. But I can't be more happy with the way it looks. It's very comfortable to sit in. The quality is OEM for sure. I think it turned out really well, especially since I've never done one of these before. Everything works just like before. I checked out the seat heaters and it heated up my backside just fine on both seats, so that's working fine. And all the electronics, plugged it back in, no issues whatsoever. So that was awesome. This is one last comparison between the pleather and the real leather. You can just see the grain difference and how smooth this is. And it is so much softer when you touch it. This doesn't give it all, and the leather is just, I guess supple is the right word. But I am just really happy with the way it turned out. Okay, final thoughts on the seat leather kit from leatherseats.com. First of all, the quality on the kit was really amazing. I thought it was rival to any OEM that I've seen. Second, if you've got some mechanical skills, and I don't mean like being able to rebuild a motor or something like that, it's really not that hard. It's just a process. Like anything else, a process is just looking at what you're taking off and just recreating it, putting it back on. The most tedious part was the hog rings, cutting them and putting them back on. That was a pain. And a steamer. I'm going to put a link down below to the steamer that I used. The steamer actually does help quite a bit, especially on like headrest or trying to get the sides over. It does take out some wrinkles. A lot of the wrinkles will kind of go away after it's been sitting on there for a while because the leather will stretch and move and everything else, but the heat from the steamer is not going to damage the seat, and it'll also get rid of some of those wrinkles, so give you a better looking installation. So overall, I'll give it a 10. And if you've got XL or XLT, putting in leather, I think it would make a huge difference versus what I had was the pleather to the leather and similar colors. It didn't look a lot different, but it actually feels a lot different, and it just is a lot classier. So Mavi is a lot more classy with leather seats in it. I think it turned out absolutely awesome. Leatherseats.com was phenomenal in answering any questions and getting back to me right away. Julian is who I dealt with there. He was spot on. So all I can say is get you some leather and slap it in there. Any questions, comments, post them below. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I came up with. And the only other side note would be I got a couple scratches putting the seats in and out because they're really kind of heavy to reach in and out. Put something along your plastic just so you don't scratch it as you're getting the seats in and out. That's the only thing that I would say that you really should do because I got a couple little scratches in there. No big deal. Appreciate you being a subscriber. Appreciate you watching. Like I said, I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.